The Last of Us ratings declined during Season 2. No, no, say it ain't so. Why ever would that happen? Surprise! Season 2 of The Last of Us didn't do as well as Season 1. I say surprise, but no one with a functioning brain is actually surprised. Pretty much everyone who saw what happened with the game The Last of Us Part 2 knew the second season for the show would take a hit. Why? Well, because it turns out that killing off a fan-favorite character might piss off fans enough to make them stop watching the show. After all, that's what happened with the game. People were so pissed about Joel's death that they stopped playing the game, literally mid-game. There are tons of videos of this. My favorite is the one where dude watches Abby kill Joel and then switches over to play as Abby, and he just ejects the disc, turns the PS5 off, and ends his live stream. This went over so badly that Neil Druckmann has spent years trying to spin the negative reaction into something positive. But like I said when the game came out, the issue isn't just that they killed off Joel. It's what they make the player do afterwards. Play as his killer, Abby. You cannot force people to play as someone who just murdered their favorite character and think this is going to work. They're not going to sympathize with her. They're not going to empathize with her. They're just going to hate her, end the game, and probably dip out. Well, it turns out the same thing happened with the show. From The Hollywood Reporter, quote, according to Nielsen, the 7-episode second season has been softer in the ratings overall, despite kicking off slightly higher. The season's 4th and 5th episodes, the most recent episodes with third-party ratings available, had smaller audiences than any Season 1 episodes. Measured on a week-by-week basis, Nielsen's Season 2 tracking goes from 805 million minutes streamed during the premiere week to 937 to 827 to 738 to 745. Overall, Season 2 has averaged 18% fewer viewers than the first 5 episodes of Season 1. The article acknowledges that second seasons do sometimes experience dips in viewership, but the article also admits that The Last of Us was extremely popular, meaning it probably wouldn't take the usual hit. So, what happened? The obvious, as the article puts it, quote, the new season's second episode brutally killed off the show's beloved co-lead Joel, leaving his ward Ellie to embark on a quest for revenge against his killer, Abby. It could be as simple as that. And it probably is as simple as that. Joel is a beloved character. You can't just kill him off and think that'll go over well with the audience. Obviously, it won't. Now, in fairness, I haven't watched Season 2 yet, but I do know that there were changes made to the story, specifically that the show stays with Ellie, whereas in the game, players are immediately forced to play as Abby following Joel's death. Given the way the season ends, I guess the third season will focus on Abby's story. That is kind of a better way to approach the story, but it doesn't solve the problem of the impact of Joel's death. Clearly, the way it went down in the show bothered people as much as it did in the game, enough for nearly 20% of viewers to bounce mid-season. Could the showrunners have prevented that? Maybe. Because some of my friends couldn't shut up about the show and give me a chance to watch it, I already know about the flashback episode where Ellie finds out that Joel lied. Maybe if that episode had preceded Joel's death, that would have made people more accepting of his murder because they would kind of see it coming. You don't usually get episodes like that without there being some comeuppance. Maybe had the show spent more time with Abby, like I suggested with the game, then people could better understand her reason for killing Joel. That wouldn't make it hurt less, but maybe the audience would have been more willing to accept Joel's fate. But the way that it was done, we're just going to kill off Joel and force you to sympathize with this killer, that was never going to get over. They already saw the reaction from the game, and the game is already pretty cinematic, so if it didn't work in the game, it was never going to work in the show. Now, the article throws out some other reasons why the audience might have bounced. One idea is that changing the story from one about a father-daughter relationship to a revenge tale might have turned people off. Another idea is that the show stuck too close to the source material. The article doesn't flat out say it, but it heavily implies that this meant not killing Joel. I don't think that's necessary. It's the way he dies and what the audience is forced to do afterwards that's the problem, not him dying. Killing Joel off later in the story probably would have worked better, especially if they took the time to foreshadow his death and give the audience time to understand Abby. The third idea is an interesting one that I never even considered. Quote, I suspect a key reason for the show's rating slippage has less to do with Season 2 and more to do with the end of Season 1. The end of The Last of Us Season 1 was actually a perfect conclusion. Once Joel saved Ellie from the Fireflies and they settled into a safe and thriving survivor camp, it felt like the end. If you're a viewer watching these two likable characters endure all sorts of grisly horrors, this is just about the best outcome for Joel and Ellie you could realistically hope for. A second season of The Last of Us can only be written as, but then more, and even worse, bad stuff happens, for a tale that felt resolved. Honestly, the writer has a point. Joel and Ellie's story was done. Obviously, there's more that happens to them, questions left unanswered, but that's a story people want to see, not one they need to see. Sometimes the story is just over. Maybe that was the case with Joel and Ellie's story. There are other tales within that world to tell, but we don't really need to focus on Joel and Ellie anymore. That's a tricky gamble because Joel and Ellie are the draw. Without them, maybe people wouldn't be interested in that world. But clearly killing off Joel the way they do and shifting to focus on Abby in the game and Ellie's revenge in the show didn't work the way that Neil Druckmann wanted. Now that he's learned that lesson for the second time, let's hope he gets that urge to subvert expectations out of him, because it's not doing him any favors. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.